I really wonder when I will get past this. I, 24 male, and my fiancé, 25 Fahrenheit, have been together for 6 years. I proposed to her during COVID and she was actually having her affair when she accepted my proposal. Why would anybody do that? Why would someone accept a marriage proposal from one person while sleeping with somebody else? Anyway, this is a long post. I have been typing it out for weeks. It's therapy for me in a way. Not really looking for any advice, just trying to empty myself out somewhere. Tell someone, even if it's just strangers on the internet. I'm a pretty awkward guy. I've never been big with the ladies, but when I met my fiancée, let's call her Bess, I was head over heels in love within a minute. I had never been in love before, but I knew she was the one I wanted to spend my life with as soon as I met her. For some reason she seemed to really like me as well, and we were talking about kids and moving in together by the end of the week. The time up until D-Day was great, at least it was for me. Obviously couldn't have been that great for Bess. One day, I happened to see a glimpse of a message on her phone that made me pause. I laid awake that night and got up while she was sleeping and went through it. I am very comfortable with technology. I actually make a living through some mobile apps I made. I'm not super rich, but I could comfortably take a year off without suffering any long-term economic consequences. Anyway, I didn't find anything absolutely conclusive, but I did find a lot of suspicious stuff like deleted messages. She also had a Snapchat contact with an icon that indicated a lot of interaction. There were also some pictures of a guy I didn't recognize. So I installed spyware to monitor her mobile. I just did a Google search and selected the most expensive service I could find. I could even turn the camera and microphone remotely. The next day, Bess was supposed to go on a 5-day business trip. She works in sales, so this wasn't necessarily something that was strange for her. But as soon as she was out the door, the messages started going back and forth. I was devastated. I vomited several times. I just couldn't believe what I was reading. For a long time I refused to accept what it meant. I became obsessed and started going through everything I could get access to. I found out their affair had started more than 2 months before I proposed to her. Her AP, a work colleague, was a married man 10 years her senior with 3 children and a wife that was 7 months pregnant at this point. The final insult that day was when I could hear them in action in the hotel room. They profess their love for each other. Badmouth me and his wife. They talk about running away and starting a new family. I was totally distraught. I had no idea what to do. I didn't have the guts to call and confront her. In the end, I ended up calling my best friend since childhood. Let's call him KK. Grew up in a Brazilian favela. He was already tough as nails when he and his mother moved in next door when I was 12. This was in the UK, by the way. K's father had died a few years before. K never really talked about it. His mother said he died in a random act of violence. My mother left us when I was 10. She was an addict and my father never remarried. K didn't know a word of English, but over that first summer we became close friends and I learned some Portuguese and he some English. I guess we bonded so strongly through shared trauma. Me and K has been inseparable since, which is kind of weird. I am a conflict-shy and awkward nerd. K is very popular and not afraid of anything, unlike me. K is not big or muscular or anything like that, he's just damn tough. Everybody loves K. In high school someone planned a surprise party for him and 250 people showed up. I can probably count my friends on one hand, and 3 of them are more people I know than actual friends. I told K everything, showed him the messages and the emails I managed to uncover. He was silent for a long time. He told me that he couldn't give me any specific advice because this was something I had to deal with. I had to deal with this the way that was right for me. He then proceeded to remind me about a girl he had been with that had cheated on him. He went nuclear. He exposed her to family, friends, and went no contact. I had no idea what to do. K's suggestion was the only thing I had, so I told him that I wanted to do with something like that to Bess. For the next few days we packed all her stuff, drove it to a storage unit, changed the locks on my apartment, and prepared to pick her up from the airport. Thankfully K was driving. I was actually sitting on my hands to hide how much they were shaking. Bess was all happy and laughing. When she got into the car she instantly notices something wrong with me. I just told her I wasn't feeling well. K smiled at her and told her I had a cool surprise planned for her at her parents' house. I didn't say anything, not a single word the entire trip. I tried to not let her see my face. And I faked the smile as best I could. From the moment Bess got into the car, the rest of the day seemed like it played out in slow motion. I had already talked to her parents the day before and told them we were coming by. I told them I had the surprise announcement to make. When we arrived there were hugs and smiles and I almost backed out at that point. I love her parents, they've been so good to me and always made me feel welcome. Soon Bess was sitting on the sofa in between her parents. At some point someone asked about the big surprise. Kay encouraged me to go on. I started off by telling her parents how fond I was with them and how grateful I was that they had welcomed me into their family and treated me in such a way that I always felt welcome. Then I choked up for a few minutes. I had this entire speech planned out. It was eloquent and composed. I totally forgot my speech, so I just blurted it out. Bess has been cheating on me with a work colleague that has kids and his wife is 7 months pregnant. The engagement is off. The wedding is off. Our relationship is over. Bess, your stuff is in this storage container. I just dropped the key on the floor. This is goodbye forever. I walked out while everyone was just sitting there silent. I heard Kay tell them that I needed time to heal and to please don't contact me unless it's absolutely necessary. In the car, Kay told me to post to the Facebook group. The Facebook group, what's where we were planning the wedding. Everybody was on there. My entire family, her entire family. Friends, everyone. I posted a short message almost identical to what I told her parents and then disconnected from the group. Kay kept telling me he was proud of me, that one day I would look back at this and be happy that I stood up for myself. I was just stunned. Nothing about this felt good or real. The next plan, stop, what's the APS wife? When she opened the door, I just blurted it all out. I didn't even introduce myself. I'm pretty sure she slapped me at some point. As I gave her a thumb drive with the evidence on it, her husband comes around the corner behind her. His wife immediately started screaming. She told him to get lost and not come near her. He tried making excuses, but as soon as he took a step forward, Kay was right up in his face instantly. You heard the lady. Get out. After a bit more back and forth, he eventually packed a bag and scuttled off. Kay talked to his wife for a while. I was just trying to process my screwed up life in my mind. In the end, we were invited inside. Kay called his mother and we agreed to spend the night until her father could arrive the next morning to pick her up. She was scared her husband will turn back up and she did not want to be alone. Inside, I was treated like I had turned invisible. No one saw me or noticed me. I just sat there crying silently. I understand she was in a much worse situation than me. I was not married and did not have kids. Still, I was breaking inside that nobody even looked at me. At some point they all fell asleep. I still sat there crying. I decided that I was going to just end it. I started looking for pills, but I couldn't find any. In the end, I got a long knife and I planned to just stab myself through the heart with it. I held it towards my chest with both hands, and when I took a deep breath, the knife went under my rib cage and penetrated about a centimeter. It hurt like hell. I sat there for a while watching the knife with the bloody tip. I have no idea how long I stood there. In the end, I left the knife on the table and went back to my chair. There I sat crying for the rest of the night. I just couldn't get my head around what's happening. Her father arrived 5:30 in the morning. I opened the door to let him in. I was covered in blood. He was amazingly calm, considering how I looked. He calmly asked me some question, and if I was okay. I mumbled some gibberish. He went inside to find his daughter while I just stood there holding the door. Shortly after, Kay came out to talk to me. I stared at him for a minute, then I just passed out. I woke up in the hospital. It's 3 months ago now. Kay stayed with me the first few weeks after I returned home. He was scared I was going to off myself again. I haven't talked a word to my ex-fiancé. I changed my phone number, I blocked her email address and all access on social media. She has come to my door a few dozen times. She talks through the door. Sometimes she talks for hours. She talks about how sorry she is. She begs for forgiveness. She has told me that she has broken it off with the AP, that the APS wife is divorcing him. That she's been fired because the APS wife reported them to HR. When she comes, I just sit right inside the door. I listen to her and cry. I know it's really fucking up. I'm just torturing myself. I haven't responded to her yet. She's told me that she could see the door move when I leaned against it, so she knows I'm there. I haven't healed anything. I still love her like crazy. But my heart and soul is just too damaged. I am full of anger, hatred, and shame. I know I can never go back to her. It would totally destroy what little self-esteem and self-respect I still have. The confrontation at her parents' place, telling the APS wife. It gave me nothing to feel better about. If anything, I regret not just walking away. People have been telling me at some point go numb or becoming different. I hope that day is soon for me. Because right now every day is hell.